Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you being willing to have me join you all today, and I continue to seek a bipartisan solution to address this issue of net neutrality. And I believe that there is bipartisan support for the bright lines, for making clear no blocking, no throttling, no paid prioritization. I'm very disappointed to see the majority moving forward without really seeking a bipartisan solution. It's clear that this bill will not go anywhere in the Senate, and if it is as dire as the other side continues to suggest, then I would implore this committee to come together in a bipartisan way. I believe that there is really an opportunity for us to come together and stop politicizing this issue. What we continue to see is a lot of rhetoric around net neutrality that has really been driven to a fever pitch. We see dire predictions as to the end of the internet. We saw threats against the chairman of the FCC and his family, death threats, as well as some of our own colleagues. And if it were truly the crisis that it's made out to be, I believe that there should be more willingness to solve it instead of moving ahead with a partisan approach. This bill is not going to pass the Senate. It's not going to be signed into law, and it's not really intended to do that. It's apparent the goal is not about protecting consumers, innovation, and internet. It's about scoring political points. For those who say they want to save the internet, however, in the time since Title II was repealed, network speeds are up drastically. Investment and coverage in rural areas has increased. As we work to continue to close the digital divide, we need to decrease barriers to deployment, not increase them. I agree we need to protect consumers, but we also need to do it in a way that does not leave underserved areas of our country behind. I represent a rural area of eastern Washington where we continue to have broadband needs, and we need more deployment. Republicans for years have been offering to work with the Democrats to find an agreement, only to be blocked and denied again and again. Earlier this year, Mr. Walden, Mr. Latta, and I introduced 3 separate reasonable solutions to protect consumers and ensure the internet remains free and open. My bill is based upon a law that passed in Washington State with overwhelming bipartisan support, signed into law by Governor Jay Inslee. It gives the FCC clear authority to enforce the bright line rules of net neutrality: no blocking, no throttling, no paid prioritization. It's a solution that does not institute changes to the internet that would stop innovation, stifle broadband deployment, and leave millions of Americans behind. If my friends on the other side would like changes to my bill, or others, we need to have that conversation. Let's work together. It's time to end the regulatory and legal confusion and bring certainty to consumers and the marketplace. We want to guarantee that the United States remains a leader of technological innovation that we've been the last 20 years. We want every American to have access to the internet and the economic and social and educational benefits that connection brings. We want to ensure that the next generation of networks originate here, ushering in a new era of technology that we can't even now imagine. And we should want to do it in a bipartisan way. As Senator Cantwell tweeted when the Washington State bill became law, quote, "In our state, Republicans and Democrats came together. Why can't we see this same bipartisanship in the U.S. House?" And I would like unanimous consent to enter into the record various tweets of support from Republicans and Democrats for the Washington State law.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. McDowell, can you speak to the bipartisan consensus you saw around the issue, both at the Commission and here in Congress, prior to Wheeler's FCC move to reclassify broadband under Title II in 2015?
Sure. In 2005, which is about a year before I got to the FCC under Chairman Powell, there was unanimous bipartisan adoption of the Internet freedom principles, the consumer kind of Bill of Rights for the Internet, if you will. And I think that's what could be the starting point. Subsequent to that, though, you had bipartisan and unanimous votes after the Brand X decision, which was in June of 2005, the Supreme Court decision, making sure that it was clear that cable modem and broadband over power line and DSL and wireless broadband, all of those were properly classified under Title I. And those were unanimous and bipartisan through the year of 2007. But I think what we've seen today and in other discussions is, no anti-competitive conduct that involves throttling and blocking and prioritization that's anti-competitive, et cetera. I think those are great starting points for where you could have an overwhelming bipartisan majority of both houses.
Great. Okay, thank you. I'll yield back and just urge again that we come together and do this in a bipartisan way.
I thank the gentlelady.